And this one's going to be kind of fun. Not too serious, I hope. Um, I am in a very strange place in my life right now. It's a lot of fun, actually. Strange is fun to me. It's not. It doesn't scare me. I've faced all kinds of strange things and learned from those experiences, and you know, it's strange. Okay. um, the night, the night John Lennon was shot was December 8th, 1980, and I graduated from the University of Missouri in Columbia in August of 81. I think I don't keep track of that. I don't care about those things. But um, when I was in college, I lived off campus, so I really wasn't part of anything. I wasn't part of. I had friends, but a very small group. Or I don't know. I was in sort of a in between a lot of different worlds because I lived off campus. But one of the things I managed to wiggle my way into was to actually having a shift on the University of Missouri radio station. That was KCOU at the time. I'm sure it's still there. I haven't listened to it in a long time. I'm resentful. No, I'm just kidding. It was pretty funny. Um, and at that time, I was incredibly excited about all the new music that was coming out, and everything. That's just Talking Heads and Joy Division and the Clash and the Sex Pistols and Susie and the Band. Oh man, there's just no end to the music. I mean, it was everywhere, and everything was new, and everything was different, and everything had a different spirit to it, and but it was all, it's just such. It was so much fun, and it was having fun discovering music and going to the record stores and you know buying imports and stuff like that, and so I was really excited with this job, in a DJ volunteer position. But when I say I wiggled my way in, this is what I did. I There was a big line to get on the air. Obviously a lot of students want to be radio disc jockey, and that's the this the glory, that the throne, or whatever you want to call it. And at that time, I remember one of the DJs who was very popular, was a very rock and roll guy. It was, just BC actually trained me, and he was a really good guy. I liked it. He's very enthusiastic. He was a rock and roller. It's like dark brown hair and this mustache. I'm trying to. I think he only had mustache. I don't think he had a goatee, or beard or anything like that. And the radio, the KCOU at that time smelled more like the '60s than they did the '80s. They didn't really seem to have caught on. The hippies were asleep. They didn't know what the hell was going. I don't know what it was. It was no. I'm just kidding about that. I've met so many cool people in my life, really. Um, but anyway, so since all the students were trying to become DJs, I decided to take a different route. There's like a orientation day. I can't remember exactly all the details of it. I remember Cal was because he looked like California, blonde hair with a tight mustache and stuff like that, and uh, they were seeing what people wanted to do. And when I saw that everybody wanted to volunteer to be a DJ, I said, "Well, who wants to volunteer for sales?" I said, "Oh, I will." And so I was like the only one or something like that. And they said, "Oh, well, you have to, go and sell like this, get a sponsor for this program." I don't even remember what program it was. And makes me laugh just thinking about it. Um, there were these guys who I remember oh so fondly in Columbia, Missouri, that had a store called the Nostalgia Shop. Uh, and I really enjoyed, going in there and talking to those guys. They were really interesting, different individuals, and they were very. I thought they were somewhat charismatic, um, and so they were. When I went to them to offer them the show or whatever, it was like a pre-program to get a spot, saying this program has been sponsored by so and so. They went for it. It's like, and like once I got the thumbs up and I got the sale. I mean, I got the sale right away. Then guess what happened? I meet BC, and that's okay. No, I think I made several sales, and then I walked up to Cal when he was in his office, and I just kind of said, "Hey, man, um, is there any way like I might be able to, learn how to DJ or something like that?" I don't even remember, exactly how I worded it, what I said, but I do remember just kind of, um, sliding in the back door sort of there, and he said, "Yeah, yeah, sure." And in the middle afternoon, which is nerve wracking, you're sitting down, you're going to be live on the air, and with the turntables there, and you have to switch and to do all this stuff, and I'm like, yeah, this is fun. Uh, so that was it. I was BC was training me. I can't remember for how many hours I trained, and until I guess I was official. Well, what really irked me about being there was that all the music was old, and what made it worse was that there was this special show called Rocket 88, and the guys that ran the show, Tom Apple and Jeff Probst, I think it was. Am I thinking? I I think it was. I'm not sure. You know, I could go back and look at things, but they were the hosts of the show. And so what they did was basically they locked up those records. They wouldn't allow anybody to play them. You didn't have access to the music, that you really wanted to play. You had to kind of, dig through the old stuff. Now I like the old stuff. I'm not saying, I'm not pooping on it or anything like that. But I always like new. I don't like stagnation. I don't like to be in the same spot all the time. And maybe it's because of how no, it is because of how I was raised. It was completely unstable. So, I learned to adjust to instability and feel, I wouldn't say comfortable, but, I can adjust quickly. And I learned, one of the things about adjusting quickly is you have to be open, and to be open you have to be strong, and to be strong you have to do certain things, and these are not like major, um I had to, I'm very what's the word I'm looking, uh I just like to find the answers on my own. You know, I don't like people giving me answers. I like finding answers on my own. And so, anyway, back to the story. Almost deviated. I almost forgot where I was going, but not this time. So yeah, they kept up the records like the Buzzcocks, and I couldn't buy everything, so I couldn't. And it wasn't as easy to hear things like as it is now. But and so I wanted access, but I couldn't. I wouldn't break through the door. I wasn't going to pick the lock or anything like that. So what would I do? Well, me and my friend Jim, who he went by the name Maggot, just Maggot, and I went by Bob Bite. And so, we were like compadres and making all kinds of trouble. And we basically, he and I both took records to the shifts, and and what made it even more fun, of course, is that see, I lived in town. Most of the students that were at the university were not local, so when the holidays would come up, um, there would be more open time slots and stuff like that. So I don't remember exactly what time this took place. I do not remember. I am misremembering that, and I have to go back and actually see if I can determine the catalogs to know exactly what time it was. Okay, but I was on the air when John Lennon was shot, and Maggot and Bob Bite, or I should say, so it wasn't me. It was another version of me, and when I was 21 years old, uh, I was on the air, and I had my records, and Jim had his records, and we were playing music, and having all kinds of fun. What we played is what we played. I can't remember what it was, but there was a prompter that I guess had to occasionally check, and the prompter was like this typing machine, and the news would come through the typing machine. And gosh, I really want to stop because I want another little bit of my meal here, but I'm almost at the end. Uh, so looking at the teleprompter, and it's like, oh my gosh, John Lennon has been shot dead, you know. and and Jim goes, we're on the air, and we're like having to make the announcement. I'm like, oh, God, breaking news or whatever. I don't, the recording probably exists somewhere. Someone had, maybe it was destroyed. I have no idea how these things are handled, you know. But we decided that we were not going to play any Beatles music, you know. I mean, that was what everybody was going to do. John Lennon was killed, and everybody was going to play Beatles and John Lennon music and stuff like that. It was like, no, we're going to play whatever the hell we want. And Jim even said one down, three to go, and laughed about it. I think there's a song that somebody wrote that said that too. And it was, December 8th in Missouri. See, this is why I can't remember the time, is because it's cold outside. It's snowing, I think. I'm pretty sure it was snow on the ground. It might have even been snowing when it occurred. And, they kicked me off the air not too long after. But the funny thing, it was really weird because they said something like, you played Joy Division. So you played Joy Division right after that. And apparently that was the wrong thing to do. So, I'm going to try to, my friend Trevor that plays he's the vocalist for Flag Burner over in St. Pete. He asked me to, see if I could remember some stories about the Stark Raving Mad days, but that was one way before Stark Raving Mad. Well, maybe 5 years before, because later I just hopped on a bus and went to New York and just went, hello, but I had nothing, and it was weird as hell. But I'll see if I can remember that stuff. But I kind of want to continue eating my oatmeal.